Hello everybody, it's nice to see you all there again, and here we are to start on webinar 2 of the 3 webinars that I've promised you this month. And I know you can't see me in real life, but here's a picture so you know the face that goes with the voice, and this is all about coaching in ELT. So that the focus of all my coaching thoughts today are going to be how coaching can work in your teaching situation. And of course I've invited you to invite other colleagues onto this call, and they may also listen to the recording. So just to make it clear that even if you don't teach English, but if you train in something else, if you train other skills, or you're a consultant in some way, I think you'll find that these are relevant thoughts. Right. So today we're going to be talking about the frequently asked questions about coaching for teachers. So these are frequently asked questions that teachers ask about coaching. And to start off with, I'm going to make a few introductions just so you know who I've got here in the office with me. I've got Steve here. He's going to solve any IT problems if we have any, and so he's going to be here in the background, so you might hear me saying to him, you know, something about the technical side. And we've got people from Germany, we've got Croatia, we've got Paris, we've got London on the call today. So we're a bit of an international crew, and I'm based in my office in Oxford. So just to give a little bit of background for those who may listen to this and not have listened to the one before, I've been coaching now for 10 years, but when I started my career I was an English language teacher. I started in Brazil, and then I moved to Yugoslavia, as it then was called, Slovenia and Croatia, and then to Egypt, and then to Singapore, where I was doing English teaching, business English teaching, always to adults and mostly to professional people. So I have talked on a couple of conferences about how coaching is being applied or could be applied to teaching business English, because that was my specialized area in English language teaching before I started the coaching. So if I forget that we've got general English teachers listening and I talk about business English, then please forgive me, and the other way around too. So today is the frequently asked questions webinar, and I've got several questions to answer here, and if you think of any more you can write them to me afterwards, or you can write them to me on the little panel on the right of your screen while we go. And just if I may, I'm going to ask your permission. Is it okay if I say a little bit about the course that we're running in July, so that those of you who are considering whether you would like to join us on it, you can know a little bit more about what's there. And I know that Tanya, you're on the call and you're coming already, so it'll be great to see you on July the 21st. So, well, I'm glad that's all right with you, and we'll go on to the next slide then. Now I've slightly adapted this from last time, and just so you have a definition of coaching for the basis of this call, I've called it a structured conversation and a rigorous process. Structured because it's not quite like, well, it's not at all like a normal conversation. It's structured in various different ways, and it's rigorous because the coach is not like a friend, although the coach might become your friend. The coach's role is to be quite rigorous because the coach wants you to succeed in the goal that you've chosen. So it's a structured conversation and rigorous process which develops the individual professionally and personally. And it's designed to optimize potential in work or life or both. It maximizes performance. It acts as a catalyst to creative thinking, to new opportunities, and to inspiring results. And the bullet point that I've added this time is it does not instruct, recommend, or advise. And we did talk, well, I did talk at some length last time about the fact that coaching is not instruction and it doesn't include recommendations or advice. So I thought it was useful to put that bullet in there. Just an interruption for a moment. Steve, can the listeners see these slides?
Yes.
At the moment, now that we're speaking?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, just wanted to make sure of that sudden doubt. Right, so here are the first three frequently asked questions that I'm going to answer today. The first one, what is coaching? Well, I think you all know the answers to that. We covered it at some length last webinar, and also you've just had the definition that I'm using at the moment. So I won't go into that again, but it is one of the most frequently asked questions. Or it's one of the questions that sometimes should be asked and isn't asked, because there are lots of what can I say, general thoughts about coaching which don't really fit with the kind of coaching that we talk about these days as professionals. Now the next question I've got here is, where does it come from? Well, as far as I know, it comes from the States. And as you know, the States often invents or discovers something that we in the UK follow on after, and that's what happened with coaching. Life coaching started there, became big there, and then the UK followed on after, and the idea seems to be spreading around different countries in the world now. So that's my answer to number two. Where does it come from? In another sense, you might say, or it has been said, that it comes from Socrates, who believed that you actually taught people by asking them questions. And my third frequently asked question here is, what's so special about coaching, and why is it? I suppose the person who asked this is maybe thinking about, why is it so expensive? Why is it so trendy? Why are people talking about it? And if you're living in the UK, you might say, why are so many people life coaches? So, well, my take on that is highly personal. And I think one of the reasons that coaching has got a lot of, well, bandwidth, if you like, is because people who have experienced it become very passionate about it. It seems to be that if you've experienced being coached, you do find that you come up with solutions that you would never have come up with before. And it might be something, your topic might be something like weight loss or changing your career or something like that. And it will typically be something that you've talked about for ages with your friends, perhaps with your boss or with colleagues or your family, and you haven't seemed to have got very far. But when you have some coaching on this subject, you find that you come up with some great solutions which you never thought about before. And it's that feeling of discovery and clarity and success is now within my grasp that I think is why people are so excited about coaching. And I must say, every time that I am coached, I feel that I have got a special kind of clarity around the subject that I've chosen to look at. And I don't think any of you on the call have actually attended any of my courses yet, but those who have will know that I do quite frequent demos during the course. And if I'm coaching with a team, so if there are two coaches there, so if I have an associate with me, sometimes that associate will coach me, sometimes I'll coach her or him, and when they coach me, even though it's only a 10-minute demo in front of an audience to show them what coaching is, I will always choose something which I really want to get some clarity on, or something that I see as a problem or an opportunity and I want to make some progress on it. And even in just that 10-minute demo, I will find that I've moved forward substantially because of the kind of structured and rigorous conversation that we have. So I think that's one of the things that makes it special, is that the results are good and they're sometimes quite startling. The other thing is that it's special in the sense that it's different. You can have lots of conversations with a colleague or a friend, and they're useful and they're interesting and they're fun and all kinds of things, but the coaching conversation is very different, so it's special in that way. In a way, you're two equal people because the coach is helping you work on your topic, but in a way the coach is also leading the conversation, because when someone asks you a question, you feel bound to answer. So although it's my topic, if I'm playing the client, I am in a way the rigor comes from the coach. And as the coach is focusing on my topic, it's something that I really am interested to answer questions on. So it's a highly individual kind of relationship, and it's a conversation about a topic that I really want to move forward on, and it's got a special structure, and it's not like an ordinary conversation, and you get some startling results. So I think that's quite an elongated answer, and I hope that gives you a sense of some of the special things about coaching. So now let's go to the next set of FAQs. So I've grouped these ones which I've received under motivation. So the first, what makes coaching good for motivating others? Then what ideas can I use from coaching to motivate my staff? And how could coaching motivate students? So these questions indicate one of the truths about coaching, which is it is a management skill, and it can also be something that can be used within a teaching kind of relationship. And as I'm talking to people in the ELT world, some of you will actually be leading a team. So if you are a DOS in a language school in the UK, or a director of studies, for those of you who don't use that acronym, if you're a manager. If you are listening and you are in fact the owner of a small language business, then you are a manager and you will have staff. It might just be somebody who does some occasional typing if you're a freelancer, or it might be you might have a whole team of teachers and other admin staff and security staff. So even in the ELT world, there are of course managers who will be thinking of how could coaching motivate my staff? How can I use it as a management tool? And then those of you who are primarily teachers would probably be thinking, well, how can I use it to motivate the students in my class? I have to say now that I don't know about using coaching for children. I've never except for a very short period of time, taught children myself. I've always concentrated on teaching adults, and so similarly with all the coaching that I've done, it's been with adults, either managers or in some cases managers who are also teachers. And when I was doing my first coaching skills training course for in a school, and we had a group of teacher managers in the room, I could tell that they were always thinking of their two roles. They were thinking about the management side of things, giving appraisals and motivating staff, but at the same time they were, at their core, they were teachers. And so they were always seeing how coaching could be used in the classroom. And most of them were actually teaching children. So they were thinking, how I can see how I could use this with the fourth form or whatever. So I absolutely do know that coaching does work with children and adolescents, but you would be doing it in a different way, and you'd have to pick and choose what was appropriate. So anything that I say here, if you teach children, then you're going to have to adapt what I'm saying about coaching to that scenario. Okay, well, I'm going to start first of all with the middle question. What ideas can I use from coaching to motivate my staff? I think as a manager in the teaching world, because we're talking about ELT, very often you have been a teacher before you became a manager. So very often managers do not have that many management skills, and they often haven't been on management courses. So actually having to manage the people who used to be their colleagues can be quite difficult. And coaching does, when you go on a coaching skills course, you do learn a structure for a one-to-one conversation. And that is one idea which can be very useful with a manager having a one-to-one conversation with staff. You can use this structure, we call it the escrow model, for your conversation. Well, that's one thing. The other thing that I think is very useful is the question that we often ask at the beginning of a coaching session, or which can be used for any meeting. And if it's one-to-one, you can imagine how it would work. At the beginning, we might ask what's going well. That's an S factor question. But the next thing that we would be asking is, what do you want to get out of this meeting? Or we might phrase it slightly differently. What would you like to get out of this meeting, or something like that? And so that gives you a goal and an outcome. And that is something which I think works just as well in meetings as it does in coaching sessions. The other thing, and any kind of conversation about goals, I think, is something that can be used in meetings with staff. If you ask people, what would you like to have your career look like in 5 years' time, or what would you like to work on this year for the next 12 months? If you do appraisals with your staff, they're probably only once a year, then that kind of question is also useful. In the business world, we're encouraging people to do appraisals once a quarter. That's every 3 months, so that actually there's much more momentum, because in a 12-month period, if you're only talking about development and goals once every 12 months, it's very likely that the whole idea gets lost over the next 11. So those are some ideas that you can use from coaching to motivate your staff. And another thing, to flip over now to the first question, what makes coaching good for motivating others? Well, I've mentioned a couple of the things there. One is that you have a one-to-one conversation, and that is motivating for a lot of people. If you're if you're talking to somebody who's quite extrovert, then they quite like having a one-to-one conversation where they can do a lot of talking and you can do a lot of listening. If they are a more reserved kind of person, then it's quite motivating to be in a one-to-one situation where those articulate extrovert speakers don't interrupt all the time. So one thing that makes coaching motivating is that there is this space for talking and thinking. Another thing that makes it motivating is that a coach asks those kind of questions like, what would you like to have as an outcome of this meeting? So that you have a chance to put your thoughts into the mix, and it's not just led by an agenda which the manager has produced themselves. Another idea from coaching that makes it motivating is that we tend to talk about strengths as well as weaknesses, and that focus on what you're good at is something that there normally isn't that much time for, and it's something that helps you grow in confidence. And because coaching encourages the coachee to provide solutions, that is also a confidence builder. Just think about it for a second. If you are working with somebody and they are always giving you advice about what you should do, every time you get a problem, you probably go back to that person and say, what should I do here? And you become really quite dependent on that advice giver because they've given you so many good solutions in the past. Well, conversely, with coaching, the coach encourages the coachee to come up with better solutions than they'd thought of before. So that coachee goes away with the idea that, oh, well, I found a very good solution myself. And here's another solution that I found. And I've worked out how to do the next steps. So it does build confidence, and that makes it motivating. So I think I've answered enough on question number 1 and question number 2 there. And how could coaching motivate students? Well, we did talk a little bit about that last week, about the one-to-one tutorial type of conversation and how useful my own students, when I was my adult students, when I was a business English teacher, how useful they found it to have some one-to-one time with me at the end of the week. And I used to make time to do this every single week. I just had 10 minutes with each of them, and it was a chance for me to say, what would you like to have out of this 10 minutes? And some of them said, well, I'd like you to tell me how good I am, or you to tell me what you think of my English. And other ones would want to talk about some particular aspect of the course that they wanted help with. It might be like, what can I do with my English when I get back, or what area do you think I should concentrate on? So it was a one-to-one time that was very motivating for them. And the other thing they found useful was having really honest feedback about their skills. What I didn't know at the time, because I hadn't trained as a coach then, was how much more useful I could make the objective setting. We probably did a fair bit about saying, what would you like to get out of this course, and where do you think you are now in your vocabulary or your speaking fluency or whatever, but we didn't do much about painting the picture of exactly how you want to be and what would that look like. And that's something that you learn in a coaching skills training course, and I think that you would find that very useful in motivating students. The other thing is the wheel, as we talked of last time, by showing, asking students to rate their own progress or evaluate their own progress on something visual like a wheel, they can see how they are progressing, and that is another thing that is useful. And again, I think some of these coaching techniques, when you apply them in your teaching situation, you're actually going to be teaching your students something which is a life skill as well as a methodology for improving language. So to choose an easy example, the wheel, if you used it for language, like putting pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, etc. in the different segments round the wheel, as I showed you on the last slides, if you and then you ask them to rate themselves in each of those areas, they can see that this is a tool they could use in their own lives. They could use it to look at their spending, for instance, for a bit of financial work on their own personal budgets. I know one of my clients used it as an action planner for the week. He would have all his projects in the different segments. So you're actually teaching people skills that they can use outside the language context. And to take another example, goal setting, the kind of goal setting that you would be doing in your the goal setting techniques that you would pick up if you were learning more about coaching, you then might use to help people to make a language goal, some goal about improving their language or spending more time on working on their language. Well, those goal setting techniques that you teach them in the language context, they can then use outside the language context, and they're learning new things there. And there are many other examples of areas in which, ways in which the coaching techniques you use in the classroom can actually be life skills that you're teaching your students, if I call them students. And even when you start asking, spending the time to have a one-to-one with them, or asking them questions instead of always giving them answers, that again is something that they can see makes them think more, and will show them ways that they could be accessing new solutions in other areas themselves. So I'll move on from motivation now. I'm conscious of the time. We've had half an hour, and I know we're aiming to keep to about 45 minutes. I hope I haven't lost any of you this time, because somebody had a problem with the transmission last time. And so here are some interesting questions. Is coaching better than teaching? Now, I think the resounding answer is no, because we're not comparing like with like. Coaching shouldn't be thought of as a replacement for teaching. It's something that you can add on to teaching. And I think I said this last time, in fact, some coaching after a teaching course or a training course is very, very effective. So no, it's definitely not better than teaching, it's different. And so question number 2 on the slide in front of me, should I use coaching instead of teaching in my English lessons? I would say no. If you're a teacher, you should be teaching. People have come to you to learn new facts about language. They've come to learn some grammar rules. They've come to do some practice exercises. They've come to have an orchestrated learning experience. However, I do think you can use some coaching methodology within your teaching classroom, which will add value to your to your students and to how they go about motivating themselves to learn more. So no, don't aim to change your teaching classroom into a coaching room, but do think about taking some ideas from coaching and using them as and when. You see, the whole thing about coaching is that the coach doesn't give answers. But in a language situation, if people have come to learn how to use the language, it's not going to be much use to them if you don't actually show them what you know about how language works, explain the system, and give them practice exercises where they can work in a communicative way as you do. And finally on this slide, do I need special training to be a coach? Well, yes, you do. If you want to be a coach, yes, you do need special training. If you want to just use some coaching ideas in a vague kind of way, then you can probably pick up a few ideas from my webinars, for instance, or some books, and then just try smattering them about your classes. But I think if you want to get some really useful coaching ingredients to put into your classes, then you do need to get some special training. But you don't need to be a coach with a qualification, but I think you do need to be I think to use these ideas which I've talked about, to use them effectively, even if they're only a quarter of what you do in your classroom, or a tenth or even less, you will only do them really effectively if you're being shown how they should be used. So I would say yes, you do need special training to coach well, and to be a coach, that means a professional coach, you would need to have a professional qualification. And now some more questions about special skills. So this is about learning coaching skills. So I've been asked, how much do OPC courses cost? And a rather cheeky one here, why should I attend your course, someone said, and not one of the others available? And then finally, how much does it cost to become a qualified coach? So I have, on the last slide, I made a distinction between learning coaching skills, basics as it were, and becoming a qualified coach. I think those are two distinct things. So I am going to tell you in a minute, because I got your permission to do that, a little bit about our courses. And we do a 2-day course which is a coaching skills introduction, and that gives you some basic coaching skills that you can use in your work straight after the course. But to be a qualified coach, you would need to take, on top of that 2 days introduction, you would need to take our 6 to 9 month ILM course, and that would make you a certified coach, so that you could actually earn money coaching people separate from language work. And how much do they cost? Well, the 2-day introduction to coaching costs £650 for teachers. Now this includes several bonuses. It includes a night in the hotel, so it is a residential course because it's a 2-day. So it includes that Saturday night hotel accommodation. It includes all meals. It includes a webinar after the course to make sure that I can support you, or whichever of my team does the course, that we can support you after your 2-day weekend. And it also includes a free complimentary copy of my coaching skills handbook, the S Factor. So £650 with the teachers reduction, that is. When we're doing these courses for business, they are more expensive, but we've pared down the offer to the minimum while still giving you a really good package, so that teachers can afford it. And why should you attend my course or our course and not one of the others available? Well, I would say one reason is that because I was an English teacher and a business English teacher, you know that I know where you're coming from. So I'm able to link this kind of communication, coaching communication, to other kinds of communication in a way that I think language teachers find particularly interesting and useful. And I can also help you explore how you can merge or mix your introduction to coaching skills techniques into your teaching. So the skills that you go away with, I am able to help you on the course with thinking how you can use them in your job. So I think that's probably one of the reasons that you would choose to attend our course and not one of the others available. How much does it cost to become a qualified coach? Well, there's a complete range of possibilities there. Our course is, the 2-day course is £650 sterling, and then the 6 to 9 month course is £3,500. That's a 6 to 9 month course. It includes a whole week of residential in Oxford, and it includes a tutor and coaching calls and webinars, so you do get a lot of value for that course. Similar courses without the residential, 8,500, 10,000 to do the coaching course at Oxford Brookes University, and so there are some much more expensive courses around when you see what I've just said there. But I do think, and I should reiterate this, you don't need to be a qualified coach in order to use some coaching ideas successfully in your teaching. But I do think you need to have some coaching skills training to do that effectively. So just to reiterate that, you don't need to be a qualified coach, you don't need to have a coaching qualification which costs thousands of pounds, but I think to be effective in using coaching ideas in the classroom, you do need to do something like our 2-day coaching skills training, so you understand how to make the most of these ideas that I've just mentioned to you. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit, as you gave me permission to do, about the course which is on in July. As you see, we've got a satisfaction guaranteed sign up here, because if for any reason you weren't satisfied with the course, and in fact delighted with it, we would be happy to refund your money. We've never had anybody, not a single person, who wasn't delighted with this course. So the July course is in Oxford. It's for EFL and Business English teachers, intercultural trainers and consultants. And we invite you to harness the power of coaching to complement your teaching and your management skills in the ELT world. And it really is, that's the idea of complementing, that coaching adds to your teaching, it doesn't replace it. It is residential, so we do include a night in the hotel here. It's a 4-star hotel with a swimming pool and a gym and a beauty salon. So you can make the most of your night there. If you live in Oxford already, of course, we could take off the residential bit if that was more suitable for you. And what you get from the course is you get coaching skills input. So there's a fair bit of, there will be some telling in there for me to explain about different aspects and concepts. You will get plenty of practice and discussion. And when you're practicing, you will get feedback. So you learn from the feedback you get as well as from watching other people coach. You'll go away with over 20 coaching tools and techniques that you can use at once in your management or your teaching or even your parenting role. You'll get strategies that you can use for helping underachievers and for stretching your top performers. You'll get coaching insights and you'll get the basic skills, so you really understand what coaching is and what principles underlie it, and what the important mindset of the coach is, which makes the coaching so effective. And you'll also have credits towards the ILM coaching qualification if you do want to go on to become a qualified coach. So this is what some of the attendees have said. Stacey Boyce, who had been a teacher for 10 years minimum when she came on the 2-day workshop. I can't remember whether it was 10 or 15 years actually, but she said it was the best training that she'd had ever since she started teaching. So that was great to hear. And then from Pauline, who is both a manager of a small team of English teachers and a teacher herself. She said it was the best course she's been on for a number of years. She believes in lifelong learning. She's been to all the big names and it was absolutely spot on. What she said as well to me was that she found it really practical and very, very interesting and something that she could use immediately. So I think that's one of the comments that I really am delighted with. So the detail for the course in July, it's Saturday and Sunday, 21st to 22nd of July. It's on a weekend so that you don't miss out on your work and your pay. And of course you get those 3 bonuses that I've talked about already. And just as a special little extra, to celebrate the UK Olympics this month, finally we're in the run-up to the Olympics and the torch is actually going to pass by my office in just a couple of days. So we will take some extra bookings. If you're wanting to come to this course, we'll actually let you qualify even though it's pretty late. If you book today, you can certainly qualify. It's a race against time. You can see that I'm interested in language here. And to win, you book now by email to me, alison.hale@opcoxford.com, and we can take your booking. And it's been very nice to talk to you again. I do hope you'll join us for webinar number 3. And we look forward to hearing from you by email what you got out of this webinar, what you liked and what you'd like us to be sure to include on the 3rd and final one in a few weeks' time. So have a very good week, end of week and weekend, and talk to you in webinar 3.